Hi friends, as always I'm very excited to see you here. If you're meeting for the first time, I'm Shankar Pandey and this is the Dr. USP channel. I host videos on media, communication, statistics and research on this channel. To stay updated with the latest on this channel, I urge you to consider subscribing to the channel. The media audience can be defined in many ways. One of the ways is by defining it through time. For example, prime time audience or daytime audience. Let's find media audience theory in this video. The mass audience concept was first proposed by Herbert Blumer in 1939. It was very different from a group, a public or a crowd. It was a heterogeneous, dispersed audience of media consumers.
Our earliest notions of an audience is that of a physical gathering of a set of spectators for public events. Audience is often viewed as the collective term for the receivers in the simple sequential model of the mass communication process, which is the source, channel, message, receiver effect. It is commonly recognized by media users as straightforward description of themselves. However, as we'll see, there is much room for differences of meaning. The audiences for mass media are much more diverse in terms of content available and the social behavior involved. Importantly, there is no requirement of public assembly. The audience always remains in a state of continuous existence. This is different from audiences which gather occasionally for specific performances. Audiences can be defined in different ways. It can be defined by place, as in the case of local or community media, for example, a Delhi audience. It can be defined by people, for example, when a content is targeted to a certain age group, gender, political belief or income category, a teen audience for example. Audience can also be defined by the particular type of medium or channel involved, example, a TV audience. It can be defined by the content of its messages, which could be genres, subject matter, styles. Audience for horror show, for example. It can be defined by time, daytime or prime time audience, for example. Audience may also be defined as the people assembled. Essentially, this is an aggregate measure of people paying attention to a given media presentation or product at a particular time. These people assembled are also known as spectators. Audience can also be defined as the people addressed. It refers to the group of people imagined by the communicator and for whom content is shaped as a target audience. This audience is also known as the inscribed or interpolated audience. Audience as a market can refer to regions served by media. It can refer to social demographic categories or the actual or potential consumers of particular media products. It may be defined as an aggregate of actual or potential consumers of media products with a known socio-economic profile. Dallas Smith in 1977 proposed that audiences actually work for advertisers. They do so by giving their free time to watch media. This labor is then packaged and sold by the media to advertisers as a new kind of commodity. The whole system of commercial press rests on this extraction of surplus value. The television media industry routinely transforms the actual television audience into a piece of commercial information called ratings. Ratings are described as forming the basis for the agreed upon standard by which advertisers and networks buy and sell the audience commodity. The needs of media industries gave rise to research designed to obtain reliable estimates of otherwise unknown quantities. These were the size and reach of radio audiences and the reach of print publications, which is the number of potential readers, which is very different from circulation. This was essential for gaining paid advertising. Media reception research, on the other hand, emphasizes the deep study of audiences as interpretative communities. Audience ethnography has three main features. Firstly, it looks at a group of people rather than the media or content. Secondly, it follows the group in different locations. Thirdly, researchers in this tradition ensure that preconceptions are avoided. If the audience is seen as an aggregate of isolated individuals, it can be associated with negative features of irrationality, lack of normative self-control, and vulnerability to manipulation seen in mass audiences. Contemporary fragmentation of the audience poses a new threat of loss of national cohesion following the decline of national broadcasting outlets. When we define an audience as a group, the audience shares at least one significant social or cultural identifying characteristic, that of shared membership of a community. For example, the readership of a local newspaper or the listener group of a community radio station. Local media in turn contributes to a sense of belonging among the community. The gratification set as audience describes an audience brought into being by the media based on a convergence of interests rather than on shared locality or social background. It is defined as an aggregate of similar content chosen by the same people. It is based on taste culture coined by Herbert Gans in 1957. A popular version of the audience concept is the one that identifies it by the choice of a particular type of medium, as in the television audience or the cinema-going public. The earliest such usage was in the expression the reading public, the small minority who could and did read books when literacy was not very common. The identification of an audience as the readers, viewers, or listeners of a particular book, author, film, newspaper title, or television channel and program is relatively straightforward. It is the usage with which audience research in the bookkeeping tradition is most comfortable and is suitable for empirical measurement. The audience can also be defined in terms of whether it is active or passive. There are 5 different dimensions of audience activity. The first dimension is selectivity. We describe an audience as active when they exercise choice and discrimination in relation to consumption of media content. Another dimension is utilitarianism. According to this, media consumption represents the satisfaction of a conscious need. Similarly, there is intentionality. An active audience is one which engages in active cognitive processing of incoming information and experience. The audience may also be resistant to influence. The activity concept here emphasizes the limits set by members of the audience to unwanted influence. Involvement is another dimension of active audience. the more an audience is caught up or engrossed in the ongoing media experience, the more it is involved.
Thanks for staying along, friends. As always, it has been a delight having you here. I'll be back with another video very soon.